Close your eyes and breathe slowly. Tonight, we're traveling through the centuries to explore a holiday celebrated by millions, a day devoted to love, romance, and affection. From ancient Roman festivals to medieval courtly love, from handwritten valentines to heart-shaped boxes of chocolates, let the story of Valentine's Day carry you gently into peaceful sleep. Our story begins not with romance, but with ancient Rome, in the middle of a cold February over 2,000 years ago. The Romans celebrated a festival called Lupercalia, held annually on February 15th. This was a fertility festival dedicated to Faunus, the Roman god of agriculture, and to Romulus and Remus, the legendary founders of Rome. Lupercalia was a raucous, chaotic celebration that bore little resemblance to the romantic holiday we know today, yet it planted seeds that would eventually grow into Valentine's Day. During Lupercalia, members of the Luperci, an order of Roman priests, would gather at a sacred cave where Romulus and Remus were believed to have been cared for by a she-wolf. They would sacrifice goats and a dog, then two young noblemen would have their foreheads touched with the bloody knife and wiped clean with wool dipped in milk. These young men would then run through the streets of Rome, striking people, especially women, with strips of hide from the sacrificed goats. Roman women welcomed these touches, believing they would bring fertility and ease childbirth. The festival was wild, primitive, filled with drinking and revelry that lasted into the night. Lupercalia also included a matchmaking element, though it was far from romantic in the modern sense. Young men would draw the names of young women from a jar, and these couples would be paired for the duration of the festival, sometimes longer. Whether these pairings led to marriage is debated by historians, but the association between mid-February and romantic pairing begins here, in this ancient, somewhat brutal Roman festival. Now we must introduce the figure who gave the holiday its name, Saint Valentine. Here's where history becomes murky, blending with legend and multiple conflicting stories. The Catholic Church recognizes at least 3 different saints named Valentine or Valentinus, all of whom were martyred. The most common story, passed down through centuries, involves a priest named Valentine who lived in Rome during the 3rd century, under the reign of Emperor Claudius II. Emperor Claudius II, also known as Claudius Gothicus, was engaged in numerous bloody military campaigns. He believed that married men made poor soldiers because they were emotionally attached to their families and reluctant to leave them for war. To solve this problem, Claudius issued a decree forbidding young men from marrying, reasoning that single men made better soldiers with no family ties to mourn. Valentine, a priest who believed in the sanctity of marriage and the importance of love, defied the emperor's decree. He continued to perform marriages for young lovers in secret, conducting ceremonies by candlelight in hidden locations, whispering the sacred words that bound couples together. When Claudius discovered Valentine's defiance, he ordered the priest arrested and imprisoned. While Valentine sat in his cell awaiting execution, something remarkable allegedly happened. The jailer, a man named Astiares, had a daughter who was blind. He brought her to Valentine, hoping the holy man might cure her. Whether through prayer, miracle, or medical knowledge, Valentine reportedly restored the girl's sight. On the eve of his execution, February 14th, Valentine wrote a farewell message to the jailer's daughter, signing it "From your Valentine." The next day, Valentine was executed for his defiance of the emperor. This is a beautiful story, romantic and tragic, perfect for a holiday celebrating love. But historians aren't certain how much of it is true. The details may have been embellished or invented entirely in later centuries. Some scholars believe Valentine was actually 2 or 3 different people whose stories became conflated over time. Another legend suggests Valentine was a bishop who was martyred for refusing to renounce his Christian faith, with no connection to marriage or romance at all. A third story involves a Valentine who was imprisoned for helping Christians escape harsh Roman prisons. While imprisoned himself, he fell in love with the jailer's daughter and sent her love letters. Still another account describes a Valentine who was executed for attempting to help Christians escape Roman persecution, but with no romantic element at all. The truth is probably lost to time, buried under centuries of retelling and myth-making. What matters for our story is that by the Middle Ages, Valentine had become associated with romantic love, whether or not the historical Valentine had anything to do with romance at all. In 496 CE, Pope Gelasius declared February 14th as St. Valentine's Day, officially establishing it as a feast day to honor the martyred saint. Some historians believe this was a deliberate attempt by the Church to Christianize the pagan festival of Lupercalia, replacing a fertility festival with a saint's feast day. By the 5th century, Christianity had become the dominant religion in Rome, and the Church actively worked to eliminate or transform pagan celebrations into Christian holy days. Whether or not this was the Church's intention, Lupercalia gradually faded while St. Valentine's Day remained on the calendar. However, for many centuries, February 14th was just another saint's feast day, with no particular association with romantic love. It wasn't until the Middle Ages that Valentine's Day began its transformation into a celebration of romance. The medieval period, particularly the High Middle Ages from the 11th to 13th centuries, saw the development of courtly love, a sophisticated code of romantic behavior that celebrated chivalry, devotion, and the idealization of love. This tradition flourished in the courts of France and spread throughout Europe, carried by troubadours and poets who sang of noble love. Courtly love was a literary convention as much as a social practice. According to its rules, a knight would choose a lady, usually a noblewoman of higher rank, often married, to serve and worship from afar. He would perform brave deeds in her honor, compose poetry praising her beauty and virtue, and suffer nobly from unrequited love. The lady would remain distant and unattainable, making the knight's devotion all the more pure and selfless. This idealized form of love was deliberately disconnected from marriage, which in the medieval period was primarily a political and economic arrangement, especially among nobility. Marriages were arranged by families to consolidate power, forge alliances, and transfer property. Romantic love was not expected within marriage. Instead, courtly love suggested that true romantic feeling existed outside marriage, in unconsummated devotion. The connection between courtly love and St. Valentine's Day appears to have been made by Geoffrey Chaucer, the English poet best known for the Canterbury Tales. In 1382, Chaucer wrote a poem called The Parliament of Fowls to honor the first anniversary of King Richard II's engagement to Anne of Bohemia. In this poem, Chaucer wrote, "For this was on St. Valentine's Day, when every bird cometh there to choose his mate." Chaucer was likely referring to the belief that birds began mating in mid-February, a folk observation that seemed to align with the date of St. Valentine's Day. Whether this belief was accurate is debatable. Many birds don't actually begin mating in February in England's climate, but Chaucer's poem firmly established the association between St. Valentine's Day and romantic love in the literary imagination. Other medieval and Renaissance writers picked up this association. In the 15th century, Valentine's Day began appearing in romantic poetry and literature throughout Europe as a day associated with love and courtship. The connection had been made, the seed planted by pagan fertility festivals, nurtured by martyrdom legends, and cultivated by medieval poets bloomed into a celebration of romantic love. By the late Middle Ages, young people in England and France had developed customs around Valentine's Day. They believed that the first unmarried person of the opposite sex they saw on St. Valentine's Day would be their Valentine, their destined love or at least their romantic focus for the year. Young people would go to great lengths to ensure they encountered the right person first thing in the morning. Another custom involved drawing names. Young men and women would write their names on pieces of paper and draw them from containers. The person whose name you drew would be your Valentine. You were expected to exchange small gifts, tokens of affection, and spend time together during the coming weeks. This custom echoes the ancient Roman Lupercalia tradition of matching couples, though now in a much more genteel, romantic context. The oldest known written Valentine still in existence dates from 1415. It was written by Charles, Duke of Orleans, to his wife while he was imprisoned in the Tower of London after his capture at the Battle of Agincourt. The Valentine is actually a poem, expressing his longing and love for his wife from whom he was separated. "I am already sick of love, my very gentle Valentine," he wrote in French. This Valentine survives today in the British Library, a tangible connection to the holiday's medieval romantic traditions. By the 17th and 18th centuries in England, Valentine's Day had become established as a day for lovers to express their affection through small tokens and handwritten notes. These early Valentines were handmade, often featuring elaborate paper lace, ribbons, and romantic verses. Creating a Valentine was a labor of love, requiring artistic skill and considerable time. Young people would create these Valentines in secret, often anonymously, slipping them under doors or leaving them where the object of their affection would find them. The anonymity added mystery and excitement. Recipients would speculate about who had sent the Valentine, and the game of guessing and revealing added to the romantic tension. Commercially printed Valentines began appearing in the early 19th century. In Britain, printed Valentine cards started becoming available in the 1820s and 1830s, featuring romantic poetry, decorative borders, and increasingly elaborate designs. These early cards were still relatively expensive and were often enhanced with additional hand-drawn details, ribbons, or other embellishments. The Industrial Revolution transformed Valentine's Day, as it transformed so much else. New printing technologies allowed for mass production of Valentine cards, making them more affordable and widely available. In 1840, a British postal reform introduced the penny post, allowing people to send letters for just 1 penny. This made sending Valentines by mail affordable for working-class people, not just the wealthy. The number of Valentines sent through the British postal system exploded. By the 1850s, hundreds of thousands of Valentines were being mailed each February. Some sources suggest that Valentine's Day was second only to Christmas in the number of cards sent. The postal system became so overwhelmed with Valentine cards that special post boxes were set up to handle the volume. Meanwhile, in America, Valentine's Day was developing its own traditions. American colonists had brought British Valentine's Day customs with them, but the holiday took on new characteristics in the New World. The key figure in American Valentine's Day history is Esther Howland, often called the mother of the American Valentine. Esther Howland was born in 1828 in Worcester, Massachusetts. Her father owned a large book and stationery store, so she grew up surrounded by paper goods and printing. In 1847, when Esther was 19 years old, she received an elaborate English Valentine from a business associate of her father's. The Valentine was beautifully crafted with layers of lace paper, colorful lithographed images, and romantic verses. Esther was enchanted by the Valentine and saw a business opportunity. She believed she could create similar Valentines in America and sell them through her father's store and to other stationers. With just $200 in supplies, lace paper, colored paper, ribbons, and decorative elements imported from England and Europe, Esther created sample Valentines. Her brother, who was a traveling salesman, took these samples on his sales trips. The response was overwhelming. He returned with orders worth over $5,000, an enormous sum in 1848. Esther quickly realized she couldn't fill these orders alone, so she recruited friends and family to help. She set up an assembly line in her home, with each person responsible for a specific task. One person added lace, another attached lithographed images, another added ribbons and embellishments, another penned verses. This was likely the first assembly line production system for Valentines in America, and possibly in the world. Esther's business grew rapidly, eventually employing dozens of women and earning her over $100,000 annually by the 1870s, making her one of the most successful businesswomen of her era. Esther Howland's Valentines were works of art. They featured layers of embossed, lace-edged paper creating three-dimensional effects, hand-painted flowers, lithographed cherubs and lovers, silk ribbons, and sentimental verses. The most elaborate Valentines could cost several dollars, a significant sum when many workers earned less than $1 a day. But people bought them eagerly, willing to spend money to express romantic feelings. Not all Victorian Valentines were sweet and romantic, however. The same period saw the rise of vinegar Valentines or penny dreadfuls, insulting cards meant to mock and humiliate the recipient. These cards featured crude drawings and mean-spirited verses criticizing everything from a person's looks to their profession to their romantic prospects. Vinegar Valentines were sent anonymously to people you disliked, romantic rivals, unwanted suitors, annoying neighbors, or anyone you wanted to insult. The verses were genuinely cruel. For instance, a vinegar Valentine sent to an unwanted suitor might say, "'Tis all in vain your simpering looks, you never can incline my heart to have a thought of love for such a face as thine." Another, depicting a woman regarded as too assertive, might read, "A strong-minded woman, loud and vain, you display your faults for all to see, you'll surely die a maid." These nasty Valentines sold in enormous numbers during the Victorian era. Some sources suggest that up to half of all Valentines sent in the mid-19th century were vinegar Valentines. Eventually, their popularity waned as society decided they were too cruel, and postal authorities in some places banned them or charged higher postage for their delivery. By the late 19th century, Valentine's Day had become thoroughly commercialized in both Britain and America. Card companies competed to create more elaborate designs. German lithography techniques allowed for colorful, detailed images. Mechanical valentines appeared, featuring moving parts activated by pulling tabs or strings. A paper couple might kiss, a heart might flutter, birds might flap their wings. Meanwhile, the association between Valentine's Day and specific gifts was developing. Flowers, particularly roses, became traditional Valentine's gifts. The language of flowers, or floriography, was popular in the Victorian era, with different flowers conveying different messages. Red roses symbolized romantic love and passion, making them the perfect Valentine's Day flower. The connection between Valentine's Day and candy was forged in the mid-19th century. In 1847, a Boston pharmacist named Oliver Chase invented a machine that could press lozenges quickly and uniformly. He founded the New England Confectionery Company, known as Necco. His brother Daniel joined the business and had the idea to print messages on the candy lozenges using vegetable dye. These became conversation hearts, small, colorful candies with messages like "Be mine," "True love," "Kiss me," and "Sweet talk" printed on them. They were initially called motto hearts or sweethearts. The candies were an immediate success, perfectly suited to Valentine's Day with their romantic messages and heart shapes. Necco produced billions of conversation hearts over the decades, making them synonymous with Valentine's Day in America. Richard Cadbury, of the famous Cadbury chocolate family in England, created the first heart-shaped box of chocolates for Valentine's Day in 1868. Cadbury had already been selling chocolate in beautifully decorated boxes featuring cupids, roses, and romantic scenes. The heart-shaped box was a natural evolution. These boxes were so beautiful that people often kept them after eating the chocolates, using them to store letters, photographs, or other treasures. The heart shape itself became increasingly associated with Valentine's Day during the Victorian era. Hearts appeared on cards, candy boxes, decorations, and gifts. The symbol, representing the human heart and by extension love and emotion, became the visual shorthand for Valentine's Day. Cupid, that chubby, winged child armed with a bow and arrows, also became a Valentine's Day icon during this period. Cupid derives from the Roman god Cupid, or Amor, who was the god of love. In Roman mythology, Cupid was the son of Venus, goddess of love. He would shoot arrows at mortals and gods, causing them to fall deeply in love with the first person they saw. Over centuries, Cupid evolved from a handsome young god into the cherubic baby depicted on Valentine's Day cards, a transformation influenced by Christian depictions of angels. The early 20th century saw Valentine's Day become increasingly elaborate in America. Department stores created elaborate Valentine's Day displays. Restaurants offered special Valentine's Day dinners. Jewelry stores promoted diamond rings and necklaces as Valentine's gifts. The holiday was becoming a major commercial event. World War I and World War II affected Valentine's Day celebrations, as wars affect all aspects of life. Soldiers away from home sent valentines to sweethearts and wives back home. Women sent valentines and care packages to soldiers overseas. The valentines from this era often featured patriotic themes alongside romantic ones, with hearts combined with flags, soldiers with sweethearts, and messages expressing love and hope for safe returns. After World War II, Valentine's Day expanded beyond romantic couples to include children. Schools began organizing Valentine's Day parties where children would exchange valentines with classmates. Parents would buy boxes of small, inexpensive valentines featuring popular cartoon characters, which children would sign and distribute to everyone in their class. This ensured no child was left out, democratizing Valentine's Day for children. These children's valentines often featured popular characters from comics, television, and movies. Mickey Mouse, Popeye, Superman, and later characters like Snoopy and Hello Kitty appeared on valentines. The messages were friendly rather than romantic. "You're a pal, be my friend, you're super," appropriate for children giving them to classmates. This expansion of Valentine's Day to include platonic and familial love, not just romantic love, represented a significant shift. The holiday became more inclusive, a celebration of affection in all its forms. Parents gave valentines to children, children to parents, friends to friends, teachers to students. Valentine's Day became a day to express appreciation and affection to everyone you cared about, not just romantic partners. The greeting card industry boomed in the mid-20th century, with Hallmark and other companies producing valentines for every relationship: romantic valentines for spouses and sweethearts, friendly valentines for friends and co-workers, cute valentines for children, humorous valentines for those who wanted to downplay the sentiment. By the 1950s, hundreds of millions of Valentine cards were being sold annually in America. The commercialization of Valentine's Day reached new heights. Jewelry stores pushed diamond engagement rings and other jewelry. Florists promoted roses, often raising prices significantly around Valentine's Day. Chocolate companies created elaborate assortments. Restaurants offered expensive prix-fixe Valentine's Day menus. Hotels promoted romantic getaway packages. This commercialization prompted criticism. By the 1970s and 80s, some people began complaining that Valentine's Day had become too commercial, too focused on spending money, too much pressure to buy the right gift or plan the perfect romantic gesture. Single people, particularly, sometimes felt left out or inadequate on Valentine's Day, a day that seemed to celebrate couples while ignoring everyone else. In response, alternative celebrations emerged. Singles Awareness Day, celebrated on February 15th or sometimes February 13th, was created for single people to celebrate their independence. Galentine's Day, popularized by the television show Parks and Recreation in 2010, is celebrated on February 13th and focuses on female friendships rather than romantic relationships. Women celebrate each other, expressing appreciation for the important friendships in their lives. Some people rejected Valentine's Day entirely, seeing it as a manufactured holiday designed only to sell products. Others embraced anti-Valentine's Day celebrations, wearing black, watching horror movies instead of romantic comedies, or sending themselves flowers to avoid feeling left out. International variations of Valentine's Day developed as the holiday spread globally. In Japan, Valentine's Day was introduced in the 1950s by chocolate companies and took on a unique character. On February 14th, women give chocolate to men, both romantic partners and male friends or colleagues. There's a distinction between girichoko, obligation chocolate given to co-workers and friends, and honmei choko, true feeling chocolate given to romantic interests. Japanese men reciprocate exactly 1 month later on White Day, March 14th, by giving return gifts to the women who gave them chocolate. These gifts are typically white chocolate, marshmallows, or other sweets, and are expected to be worth 2 or 3 times the value of the chocolate they received. This creates an interesting economic and social dynamic unique to Japan. South Korea celebrates Valentine's Day on February 14th and White Day on March 14th, similar to Japan, but adds a third holiday called Black Day on April 14th. On Black Day, single people who did not receive anything on Valentine's Day or White Day gather to eat jjajangmyeon, noodles with black bean sauce, commiserating about their single status. What started as a somewhat tongue-in-cheek celebration has become a real tradition, with restaurants offering special Black Day deals. In Finland and Estonia, Valentine's Day is called Friends' Day, or Ystävänpäivä, and focuses on celebrating all kinds of friendships rather than just romantic relationships. People exchange cards and gifts with friends, family members, and romantic partners equally. It's about expressing affection and appreciation to everyone you care about. In Wales, St. Dwynwen's Day on January 25th serves a similar function to Valentine's Day and is considered the Welsh patron saint of lovers. Welsh people exchange cards, flowers, and gifts, often featuring love spoons, a traditional Welsh romantic token where a man would carve an elaborate wooden spoon to give his beloved. In some countries, Valentine's Day has faced resistance from traditionalists who view it as a Western import threatening local culture. In India, some conservative groups have protested against Valentine's Day celebrations, seeing them as contrary to traditional Indian values. Despite this resistance, Valentine's Day has grown increasingly popular among young Indians in cities, with couples exchanging gifts and going on dates. In the Philippines, Valentine's Day is hugely popular, and mass wedding ceremonies are held with hundreds or even thousands of couples getting married on February 14th. These ceremonies are often sponsored by local governments or organizations, making marriage accessible to couples who couldn't afford traditional weddings. The digital age transformed Valentine's Day as it has transformed everything else. E-cards appeared in the late 1990s, allowing people to send free or inexpensive valentines via email. While some appreciated the convenience and environmental friendliness, others felt e-cards lacked the thoughtfulness of physical cards. Social media changed how people express Valentine's Day affection. Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter filled with Valentine's Day posts. Couples posting romantic photos with heartfelt captions, friends sharing appreciation posts, businesses running Valentine's Day promotions. The public nature of social media added new pressure. Was your partner posting about you? Was their post romantic enough? Did they use the right photo? Dating apps like Tinder, Bumble, and Hinge see increased activity around Valentine's Day, with people seeking to find a partner or at least a date for the holiday. These apps often run special promotions or features for Valentine's Day, recognizing the heightened romantic aspirations of their users. Online shopping transformed Valentine's Day gift giving. You could order flowers, chocolates, jewelry, or almost anything else online and have them delivered directly to your Valentine. This made long-distance Valentine's Day celebrations easier but perhaps less personal. The thoughtfulness of carefully choosing a gift in person was replaced by the convenience of clicking Add to Cart. The economics of Valentine's Day grew staggering. According to the National Retail Federation, Americans spend over $20 billion on Valentine's Day annually. The average person celebrating Valentine's Day spends over $150. Jewelry is the most expensive category, followed by an evening out, flowers, clothing, and candy. The numbers vary year to year, but the spending is consistently enormous. Restaurants are completely booked on Valentine's Day, often charging premium prices for special menus. Florists deliver millions of roses. Red roses remain the overwhelming favorite. Chocolate sales spike dramatically. Greeting card sales surge. The holiday has become an economic behemoth, a crucial sales period for many businesses. This commercialization has led to ongoing tension. Many people genuinely enjoy Valentine's Day as an occasion to express love and appreciation. They like having a designated day to celebrate their relationships, to make special efforts, to exchange gifts and have romantic dinners. For them, the commercial aspects don't diminish the genuine sentiment. Others feel the commercialization has corrupted Valentine's Day, turning genuine affection into obligatory consumption. They argue that love shouldn't need a special day, that the pressure to spend money and perform romance on demand is antithetical to authentic feeling. They point out the inequality of a holiday that celebrates romantic love while potentially marginalizing those who are single, widowed, divorced, or aromantic. The ongoing debate about Valentine's Day reflects broader tensions in modern society about authenticity versus commercialism, tradition versus innovation, romantic ideals versus practical realities. Valentine's Day has become a cultural lightning rod, representing everything from the beauty of love to the excesses of consumer capitalism, depending on your perspective. Yet through all the changes, commercialization, and controversy, certain aspects of Valentine's Day remain constant. It remains a day when many people make special efforts to show affection to those they care about. Whether through an expensive gift or a handmade card, a fancy dinner or a home-cooked meal, a bouquet of roses or a handful of wildflowers, people use this day to express feelings that sometimes go unspoken the rest of the year. Valentine's Day cards, the tradition that Esther Howland helped establish, continue to be exchanged by millions. While e-cards and text messages have supplemented physical cards, the tradition of the handwritten Valentine persists. There's something tangible and lasting about a physical card that digital messages can't quite replicate. The rituals of Valentine's Day, exchanging cards, giving flowers and chocolates, going out for romantic dinners, expressing affection, connect us to centuries of people who have celebrated love in mid-February. When you give someone a Valentine, you're participating in a tradition that stretches back through Victorian Valentines to medieval courtly love to ancient Roman festivals. You're part of a continuous human story of seeking connection, expressing affection, and celebrating love. Modern Valentine's Day celebrations are wonderfully diverse. Some couples plan elaborate romantic gestures, proposals, weekend getaways, expensive jewelry. Others prefer simple, quiet celebrations, a nice dinner at home, a heartfelt card, quality time together. Some people celebrate with romantic partners, others with friends, still others with family. Some people ignore the holiday entirely, and that's fine too. The most meaningful Valentine's Day celebrations are those that reflect genuine care and understanding, regardless of their cost or elaborateness. A homemade card from a child to a parent, a simple bouquet picked from the garden, a favorite meal cooked with care, a heartfelt conversation. These can be more meaningful than any expensive gift bought out of obligation. In recent years, there's been a growing emphasis on self-love around Valentine's Day. Rather than focusing solely on romantic relationships, people are encouraged to show kindness and appreciation to themselves. This might mean buying yourself flowers or chocolate, taking a relaxing bath, engaging in a favorite hobby, or simply being gentle with yourself. This self-compassion approach makes Valentine's Day more inclusive and psychologically healthier. The pandemic of 2020 and subsequent years affected Valentine's Day celebrations, as it affected everything. With restaurants closed or limited, many couples celebrated at home. With travel restricted, long-distance couples found creative ways to connect virtually. Online flower and gift deliveries surged as people found ways to show affection despite physical separation. The pandemic reminded many people that the external trappings of Valentine's Day, fancy restaurants, elaborate gifts, mattered less than the fundamental message, showing people you care about them. Today, Valentine's Day exists in all its contradictory glory. It is simultaneously commercial and heartfelt, traditional and evolving, widely celebrated and widely criticized. It can be magical or stressful, joyful or lonely, meaningful or hollow, depending on your circumstances, relationships, and perspective. For some, Valentine's Day is a cherished tradition, an opportunity to celebrate love and create special memories. For others, it's an annoying commercial obligation to be endured. For still others, it's simply irrelevant. All these perspectives are valid. There's no single correct way to observe or not observe Valentine's Day. What remains true is that humans need love, romantic love, familial love, friendship, self-compassion. We need connection, affection, appreciation, understanding. Whether we choose to celebrate these on February 14th or any other day, whether we express them through cards and chocolates or through actions and words, the fundamental human need for love persists. Valentine's Day, for all its imperfections and controversies, provides an occasion for many people to express feelings that enrich life: gratitude for a partner, appreciation for a friend, love for family, kindness toward oneself. In a world that can be harsh and demanding, taking time to celebrate affection and connection has value, regardless of the holiday's commercial or historical complications. The story of Valentine's Day is ultimately a story of how human beings have sought to honor and celebrate love across centuries and cultures. From ancient fertility festivals to martyred saints, from medieval poetry to Victorian cards, from Esther Howland's workshop to modern greeting card aisles, from handwritten letters to social media posts, we have continuously found ways to mark this day in February as special, as different, as devoted to love. Rest now, and let the story of Valentine's Day settle gently in your mind. Whether you love the holiday or find it silly, whether you celebrate it enthusiastically or ignore it entirely, you are part of this long human story of seeking connection and expressing affection. Sleep peacefully, knowing that love in all its forms, romantic, familial, platonic, self-compassionate, continues to matter, continues to bring meaning and joy to human life. Tomorrow is another day, and whether it's February 14th or any other date, you can choose to show kindness and affection to those you care about, including yourself. The spirit of Valentine's Day, celebrating love and connection, doesn't need to be confined to one day or expressed in any particular way. Dream of love in all its beautiful varieties, the excitement of new romance, the comfort of long partnership, the joy of deep friendship, the warmth of family bonds, the peace of self-acceptance. These are the gifts that truly matter, the treasures that enrich our lives, more valuable than any box of chocolates or bouquet of roses, though those are lovely too. Sleep well, with a heart full of whatever love graces your life. The story of Valentine's Day reminds us that humans have always celebrated love, have always sought ways to express the deep connections that make life meaningful. You are part of that story, part of that continuous human celebration of affection and care. Rest now. Dream sweetly. And know that love, in whatever form it takes in your life, is always worth celebrating.